Séir Maidin a Green Úsla. The Fáilte Roimh go léir nó cáid táchtach seo. Tá ormhuir fála clia agus íon a specialte a gring inniu agus curran fátaí I Cali rumpa. A féal lá de bhí na hána. Médiog fihe. Nócha hop blin ó hin. Hála dúnwarí. Pave is Jake, then Doris Shaw. After torturing 3 men through the night and morning of the 20th and 21st of November 1920, the British auxiliaries dispatched by shooting, killing by shooting, volunteers Clancy, Dick McKee, and a civilian Conor Clune. This event was to be followed on that very Sunday afternoon by an attack on a crowd at a football match between Dublin and Tipperary at Croke Park, where 13 spectators and the Tipperary player, Mick Hogan, were murdered in cold blood by the same forces. This event has become known as Bloody Sunday. We were destined to suffer another event of mass slaughter at Derry in 1972, when 14 more people were done to death by the Parachute Regiment. And that was our second Bloody Sunday. History, commemoration, and identity are very closely linked in the life of a nation. In Ireland, history plays an important role in national life. Remembering our history is the ongoing association with our past. It is part of our identity as a people and as a nation. It is the refreshment of the ideals of our patriots in our minds. Commemorating is about promoting the noble deeds of our patriot dead and remembering their sacrifice. We are mindful of the first line of the Proclamation of the Republic, read out at the GPO by the first President of our Republic, Patrick Pearse. In the name of God and of the dead generations. Pearse invoked God, the dead generations, their deeds, and their memory. Today, we again invoke God and the dead generations. Today also, we remember Clancy, McKee, and Conor Clune, and their sacrifice and their nobility. We also remember the deeds of those who murdered them. If we remember that a people's history is part of their identity, we will be mindful of the stock in trade of the people who governed us for 800 years. There was no nobility to be found in their deeds in this country. These people still have possession of part of our country and its institutions. Covert involvement in our law enforcement and defence forces is now becoming overt with the recent appointment of a senior law officer with links to MI5. What's really disturbing about this is that the only people publicly opposed to this appointment and who questioned it were former retired members of the Garda Síochána. There was not even a murmur from the opposition parties of Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, or anybody else in Dáil Éireann. Neither did the British-inspired media question the appointment. Truly, it can be said that official Ireland is not living up to the ideals of the proclamation, to cherish all the children of the nation equally. Sleeping in doorways and aborticides were not part of the vision of our founding fathers. Oh, for what died the sons of Roisin? For what died Tone and Emmett and the men of Easter Week and Terence McSweeney? For what died young Kevin Barry? For what died Sean South of Garryowen? For what died Bobby Sands and Frank Hughes and the 8 other H-Block martyrs? For what died Clancy, Clune and McKee? Murdered, as I said, behind that door. For what died the sons of Roisin? All consigned to history by Official Ireland in the hope that they may be forgotten. Official Ireland today will be found in St. Stephen's Green later on. Be sure and certain that the only organisations who stand for the ideals of our patriots are our friends in the National Grave Association, the 1916 relatives, and this organisation of the 1916-21 Club, of which I am proud to be president. We will not forget our Vice President, Noel Hughes, whose last public appearance with us was at this event last year, when he was a flag bearer, as he so often was before. I am sure, as you look down on us today, Noel, you will be pleased to see our flag flying in your honour and in honour of those who went before you. We will never forget them. Dain siad an til bio, agus tá dúil go soring, an blaim lasa. Gur míle maithagh.
Unfortunately, Father Brian couldn't be here to say a few words for us today, so we're going to have Mark McChrystal from the club to say a few words for us.
Read Psalm 13, which for well over 1,000 years is read for the deceased. I look at that, I cry to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my cry, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to the voice of my supplication. If you, O Lord, could mark our iniquities, Lord, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with you, that you may be revered. The wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord, more than those who watch for the morning, more than those who watch the morning. O Israel, hope in the Lord. For with the Lord there is steadfast love, and with him the great power to redeem. With the seed who will redeem Israel from all of iniquities.
Now we're going to have John Clancy to come forward and lay the wreath, please. We're also going to have a minute's silence. now the club is very thankful for David Clancy. He's going to come forward and say a few words on behalf of the Clancy family now, please.
Very much. Thank you very much for all of you coming here today. I know it takes a lot of effort for these gatherings. I would also like to thank the Lord Mayor of Dublin for joining us, and I would also like to thank Father Brian for all his work he's done for the 1916-1921 committee, but unfortunately could not join us today. I'd also like to thank him in receiving his order, receiving Pope Francis earlier this year when he visited Ireland. I would like to just say thank you very much for having myself here for this occasion. And I would like to mark that next year sees the centenary of the start of the War of Independence. Like the 1916-1921 committee could try and push forward perhaps a mandate that would see its mandate hosting these meetings going forward inside this building. So hopefully we can pool our resources together and try and get that, make that happen. So thank you very much. I suppose all on the Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to welcome the Lord Mayor Neil Ring, who's coming forward to say a few words now. Go on, Neil.
Reduce the Lutheran common Nadiak Shadiak Nadiak Fihain, Guramagut Jim Osan Orod Intach Shin. Jim said so much that I was going to say, but of course Jim got in first, particularly in relation to Downach Fullad, Bloody Sunday 1920 and now Bloody Sunday 72, which we all should remember. But it's all quite special to Dumsava and Sean, nor vi me og, vi me is jiggin Shaw, vi Fergan of Ushin on Orod, vi me is Jock and Shot on Comora Shaw, August Ledani Leshan Club, on Common Nadic Shadek Vehain, vi me and Shaw. But just looking back on Bloody Sunday 1920, obviously there were 32 people killed, and 13 of whom were the British soldiers in the morning, and this was organised by the squad, obviously. Now, a lot of people, Collins was obviously the leader of the squad, a lot of people give him a huge amount of credit for that operation, but in fact Dick McKee was the person who actually planned the whole operation, and now it was carried out to some success. But one, I will quote Michael Collins, it's not often I would do this, but his justification for it, which in my opinion was totally justified, and what he said later was, my intention was the destruction of the undesirables who continue to make miserable the lives of ordinary decent citizens. I have proof enough to assure myself of the atrocities which this gang of spies and informers have committed. If I had a second motive, it was no more than a feeling such as I would have for a dangerous reptile. There is no crime in detecting in wartime the spy and the informer. And later on, of course, some historians and our great revisionists that we seem to breed came along with saying that these people weren't informers or spies. Even Charles Townsend himself said it in the 70s in one of his books. But it was Jane Leonard and Tom Bowden who dispelled that particular myth and dispelled it very successfully. But later on that afternoon, as everyone knows, the Black and Tans under General Mills went to Crow Park and shot dead 14 people. Seven were shot dead on the day. 5 subsequently died of their wounds, and another 2 died later on. One of the 5 who died from his wounds was a young boy called Joseph Traynor. And Joseph Traynor had escaped over the railway wall, but from the railway line, the British shot him. My grandfather and his brothers were in their house in Sackville Gardens, and went over the railway wall and brought him back up into the house, and he subsequently bled to death on our kitchen table. They brought his body down around the back lanes of Ballybock and left him out on Ballybock Road because of the curfew, and he was taken to Jervis Street Hospital. Joseph Traynor was just a young lad, a Gaelic football player, out for a day watching the Dubs against Tipperary, and was shot dead. My family, 3 of them were subsequently interned within a week into Ballykinler because of that deed. I'm so proud of what they did and what they try to do, and it only epitomises and reflects what so many people try to do and still do for this country. And then when we run forward, and now we see, and just to actually go back a little bit to 1916, when my grandfather and his 4 brothers were in the grounds of the Rotunda and saw what happened to Tom Clark when he was abused by Lee Wilson. And the irony of it is, or the disgraceful irony is, that Lee Wilson was subsequently shot, as everyone knows, down in Wexford. And to think that his name may be on a wall in Glasnevin, on the same wall as Thomas Clark's name, really, it just makes me feel so angry. And what are we doing? Jim mentioned, what is the establishment doing? We have that monstrosity up in Stephen's Green, and anyone who says anything about it in a negative way, you're not allowed to have an opinion. The liberal agenda and the agenda that are showing, the first victim is free speech. If you go against the general, what we're supposed to be all wearing poppies or whatever the hell we're supposed to be doing, that somehow you're wrong and you're not allowed to speak out. Jim spoke out brilliantly here today, and I'll always speak out, because first and foremost, I'm Irish, I'm Republican, I'm proud of this country, I'm proud of this city, and to be first citizen here, and with the honour and privilege of speaking at an event like this, is truly humbling for me. And I'll just leave it at that, because the men that were murdered here did so much for their country, and so did so many others. And bit by bit, the establishment are trying to forget that or mix it in with other things. And just before I finish, I'd just like to pay a special tribute. I was privileged enough to know Noel Hughes for many years, from coming along here and at the 1621 Club, and had a few pints with him occasionally, and he gave me grief. He was a constituent of mine as well. I don't think he ever voted for me, but that's beside the point. I think his leanings may have been a bit more Republican than my form of republicanism, but he was a wonderful Republican, and more importantly, a wonderful man and a wonderful family man. And it's lovely to see his daughter here holding the flag. I know Jim is up, or Noel is up there watching down us today, and he's probably saying, I'd love to be going for a few pints with him afterwards. But look, he was, and I leave it at that. But mil mágro of us on Curric and Vancouver.
Fantastic words there. Thank you very much, Neil. On the note of Noel, we're going to have Chris Clancy, who's just going to finish up now just before the national anthem, and she just wants to say a few words on behalf, I think, of everybody here about Noel.
It was in early March this year, during the snowstorm even, that the sad news filtered through of the passing of Noel, or Chalky as he was fondly called. Chalky was a remarkable man. His love of his family and his country knew no bounds. But God bless him, he loved Dublin more. Chalky was a veteran of the border campaign of the 1950s, becoming commandant. And after this, Noel was a familiar sight walking around his beloved Dublin, giving walking tours of Glasnevin and providing the colour party for numerous events through the years of his fallen comrades, as always by his side, his Dublin Brigade Ulva Clare flag. Chalky was, not just for me, but for those who knew him, a source of great stories. As we would walk together every year in silence to Bodenstown, to Wolfe Tone's grave, I would literally be in tears laughing. Every crowd was there. One of my favourite stories of Chalky's is about a gent in a coffin who accidentally stood up. I will never give any of Chalky's stories the same narrative as I've just proven, as he did. But what I shall do is share those stories and share the memories that I have of Chalky with everybody that I meet, for those who are unfortunate to not have met him. Today feels so very strange without him. This commemoration feels so odd without Chalky, to not be standing in the colour party with him. And I will leave you with a one-liner from the great man himself. Sure, I never risked trouble. It was the feckers around me that always did it. Rest in peace, man.